Hi, this is Mark, and you're listening to Sports, Politics, and Occasionally Cats. Spoc. Welcome to our podcast today, where you will learn interesting and funny stories about sports, of course, and occasionally politics, but more importantly, stories about wonderful cats in Emmett's life. We're so glad you're here. You can follow us on all the Instagram sites and Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and wherever you get podcasts. Remember, it's sports, politics, and occasionally cats.
Hello, and welcome to the fourth episode of Sports, Politics, and Occasionally Cats. My name is Emmett.
And I'm Mark.
And since we did our last recording, we've actually got some more subscribers. So if you like what you see today, go on over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. You won't regret it.
Yeah, look us up on YouTube at Sports, Politics, and Occasionally Cats. And again, like Emmett said, be sure to subscribe and like us. And if you have comments, give us some feedback so we can make the show even better. We really want to hear from our fans out there. So, Emmett, what are we going to talk about in episode 4? We've got a lot going on at this time of the year with baseball and football gearing up. It's kind of an exciting time. So what do you think we ought to jump into first? How about baseball?
Yeah, how about the trade deadline?
That's a great topic. Yeah, the trade deadline was last Thursday at 5 o'clock and Central. Thank you for that correction. And it seemed the Royals made a couple small moves leading up to the deadline, getting Adam Frazier and who else did they get early on? Grichuk. I always get that name wrong. My apologies. But then suddenly, near the end of the trade deadline, it just seems like the gates opened up and things got moving. So what were some of the things you liked about what the Royals did at the trade deadline?
I like that they got more pitching because now they don't have Bubic. And Bubic is, you could make the argue, he's one of their best pitchers.
Yep, he's been great this year. But yeah, he's out for the season with the shoulder problem on the 60-day IL. So talk about the pitchers.
Yeah, we got Ryan Berger. I'm probably saying his name wrong, but someone in the comments can correct me if they feel that need to. Yeah, and I wasn't able to watch the game last night because I was at dinner theater, but I watched a little bit of the game on my phone on MLB.com. And for a while, Berger did pretty well. He only gave up one run for a while. So for a while, it seems like he did pretty good.
Yeah, no, he had a great first appearance for the Royals. He really held Boston, I think, to two runs.
Yeah.
And he went out with some runners on base, but the bullpen came in and coughed up some runs. And next thing you know, it was like the blink of an eye from a nice tight game in an important series because, we're chasing the Red Sox for the wild card spot. Suddenly it popped up 6-2 and game went overboard at that point. But he came out strong in his first pitching. And I agree with you. It was great with Bubic down and some of the injuries to other pitchers. And, with Cole Reagan still on the injured list and not sure when he'll be back. And Michael Lorenzen, who's starting to warm up and do some rehab assignments and throw into live BP. The pitching staff was getting pretty thin and, big shout out to Rich Hill, at 45, 46 years old to come out and throw a game with, that's not many people can do that, but that probably wasn't the answer to their solution. So, or their situation. So it was good that they made those moves. They traded away a fan favorite, one of ours.
Yeah.
We really liked Freddie Fermin. He was a really great, he and Salvi made a great 1-2 combination behind the plate.
Yeah. And I just want to say this. I wasn't upset that they traded Freddie. At least I told Dad this at least once, but I'm going to say it for the audience. I probably told Joe this, but Freddie was good, but Freddie wasn't Salvador Perez good. And Salvador Perez good is what got us to the World Series in 14-15 and kept us in contention in 16-17. And I really don't have a problem with them getting rid of Freddie. I just wish they'd bring up Carter Jensen so they can have that third string catcher, so to speak.
Yeah, well, it's hard for anybody to be as good as Salvi. I mean, Salvi had that great hit in the wild card game back in 2014 that got us back into the playoffs and ultimately the World Series. And just, runner on third to Alex Gordon came awfully close against the Giants. But yeah, it's hard to compare anybody to Salvi, a future Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I hope people start talking more about Salvi for the Hall of Fame, not to rush him out the door. But yeah, Freddie was a real steady, strong catcher, came up through the Royals system. He put a lot of energy into the game, and he provided some clutch hits here and there. But the opportunity to give him a chance to be a frontline starter with a contending team, I think that's just great for Freddie, and hope he does well. And I think ideally it'd be great to see the Royals and the Padres in the World Series. How about that?
Yeah.
But we really, really needed some pitching depth, and we got 3 good pitchers at the trade deadline, 2 from San Diego and 1 from Pittsburgh. We didn't give up much for that either. So it was really great to get those guys, those fresh arms, and they're young, and they've got a lot of controllable years. So I think it not only helps us here in the short term for this season as we try to make a push for the wild card spot, but it kind of helps set up a little deeper starting pitching depth going into next season and beyond.
Yeah, but do you want to know what team really surprised me in the trade deadline more than the Royals? The
Yes,
Twins.
Emmett, I would love to know what team surprised you.
The Twins, because this is an exaggeration, but some people are saying the Twins trade away their whole roster. I mean, they lost Correa, they lost Duran to the Phillies, and those are just the 2 I know about.
Yeah, well, the good thing about that, going back to our favorite team, the Royals, the Twins really kind of at the last minute just started selling everybody off. I've read some things and heard that, it may have been part of a strategy. They thought they had maybe a wild outside chance at the wild card. So getting some talent back in exchange for a lot of players was pretty important to them. I think they traded away the most players at the deadline. So that was a bit of a surprise. And Cleveland, they lost Clase to a suspension for investigation into potential gambling issues. So I think, that helped the Royals that the Guardians and the Twins traded some people away. So I was a little surprised at that. There were I thought there'd be more big name pitchers floating around. I think one surprise for me near the deadline was, all the talk was Seth Lugo was going to be a top starting pitcher to trade, but the Royals signed him on for long term, which I think, well, that wasn't a trade. I think that was a surprise at the deadline that they locked him in, which is great.
Yeah.
And then we got Mike Yastrzemski. Sorry, Emmett.
Yeah, go ahead.
We I think solidified or improved our corner outfield situation a little better than they've been all season. So, go for the Royals. The Yankees. Can I talk about the Yankees on this podcast? They went out and got a bunch of relief pitchers, and to date, that hasn't worked out so well. So keep tanking Yankees. How about that?
Yeah, the Yankees, I'm calling it, the Yankees won't make the playoffs.
Okay.
Which if the Royals somehow don't make it, the Yankees not making it will make me extra happy.
It'll soften that pain a little bit.
It'll make me feel a little better is what I mean by that.
$1 billion payroll versus $1 million payroll doesn't make it. Yeah, Yankees are having some problems with base running and just kind of execution of the game. But,
Aaron Judge was out for a while.
He's maybe rehabbing down in Florida. So, not to shame the Yankees too much, but, we need teams ahead of us to falter here as we get into the wild card race in the dog days of August and September. So, the Yankees need to falter a little bit. We need to win the series against the Red Sox, come out of there with a couple wins. But it's exciting. Overall, I think the Royals get a good solid B, maybe even an A-. We'll see over time.
Yeah. Do you know who gets an F though?
Who?
Twins, because they trade away all their players basically.
Well, they get a low grade for giving up, but they also get a high grade for all the people they got in return. So you got to average them out.
Okay, how about a C? Because that's in the middle.
There you go. Okay, we compromise at a C. So anyway. Go Twins. Yeah. So anyway, baseball's exciting. You got to love it. I was talking to your brother Danny the other night, and he's like, "It's all baseball until the last pitch. Then he'll pick up football when baseball season is over." So big baseball family here. We love it. Love talking sports. Love listening to the Royals on the radio and TV. So glad to see they made some moves. It's exciting they made a run for it. As we get into this, we keep waiting and waiting and waiting on a stadium decision. So maybe in episode 5 or 6 or 7, we'll have something to talk about there. But great moves at the deadline. I think they brought some good players in, some people that'll be great in the locker room. And, I think in terms of what other teams did, the Royals were right up there with the people that had a strong trade deadline. What do you think?
Yeah.
So, Emmett, is it time to talk a little football? We've got our red cups for our podcast today. That's kind of an homage to football a little bit in our local Chiefs. So we were talking the other day about, the preseason and kind of reflecting back on last year. So what are you thinking about the Chiefs moving ahead this year?
First of all, I'm aware preseason games don't matter, but I'd like to see them at least go 2-1 in the preseason, because losing all 3 preseason games and getting thumped by the Bears at Arrowhead Stadium is pretty embarrassing. But anyway, besides that, I'd like to see the Chiefs bounce back and win the Super Bowl. I don't expect them to go 15-2, because this is a stat I came up with. The last 2 times they've had 2 lost seasons, this year and 2020, they went to the Super Bowl and lost. Having a 2 lost season is kind of a curse for us. So what do you think? They went 14-3.
I'll take 14-3. I'll take 15-2. But yeah, I think
11-6.
They have a tough schedule. I think that's one thing we need to be mindful of.
No joke.
Be real. But nonetheless, I think 14-3, 13-4. Those are probably realistic.
12-5,
maybe. I mean, the thing we have to remember is the teams here in the AFC West have improved quite a bit. So it's going to be a tougher season moving ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see, and this is probably asking a lot, because these big time football players, the power goes to their head, and they do stupid things. But I'd like to see Chiefs players stay out of trouble this season, because because if Rashee Rice ends up getting suspended for X games, isn't he like a running back or something?
No, he's one of our wideouts, and he was having a strong season. But, I think the reality is he's going to be out for a few games.
The point is, it's going to hurt us if we don't have Rice.
Right.
Rice isn't one of the pinnacles of our dynasty, but at the same time, every player counts when you're trying to avenge a horrible loss in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, one of the things it looks like is Travis Kelce is back, a little slimmer, trimmer, more fit. It seems like all the players have got real fire in their belly to come back from that embarrassing loss from last season.
Yeah.
So, I'm optimistic. I think everybody's going to buckle down, and this is probably a year with where Kelce is in his career. Patrick kind of right in the middle of his prime. They've got a pretty deep set of wideouts. Running back by committee, a strong defense coming in. Hopefully they've fixed the problems with the offensive line. I think they can make a pretty good run. Nothing like a group of players angry and wanting to come back for, what's the word I'm looking for? Redemption this season, to really have them do well.
And losing this is a side note, losing the World Series in 2014 fire the Royals up to come back in 2015 and give it their all and win. So we could be following that same pattern this year.
I think that's a good thing to make.
I mean, I really hope the Chiefs can. I mean, and then there's the issue of Kelce retiring. Here's my take on it. If the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year, yeah, Kelce will probably retire. But if we don't win the Super Bowl, or lose the AFC Championship, or we lose and don't win the Super Bowl, I don't foresee Kelce retiring, because I doubt he'd want to end his career on a loss and not winning the Super Bowl. So this might be Kelce's last year. He might come back next year. We'll see. What do you think?
I think that's a fair. I tend to agree with you. I think It's kind of a now or never thing probably with Travis a little bit, but I think he's going to want to get one more ring before he walks out. So it's going to be really important for him to play hard this year.
So are you going to watch any of the preseason games?
I might, but I'm going to follow your brother's lead and probably watch baseball or listen to baseball and kind of keep a glance over the shoulder at the game. Part of go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Okay. There's actually quite the pickle on Saturday because the Royals play at 6 o'clock and the Chiefs play at 7 o'clock. So what I'm probably going to end up doing is have the Royals game on my headphones that I ironically got for podcasting and haven't used it for that purpose, and watch the Chiefs game on TV. Is probably what I'm going to end up doing. How about you?
That actually might work. Maybe we can both do that, because the thing I like about preseason is watching players who just recently got drafted or free agents or people they've just brought in and get a chance to see how they play in game situations. And I know it seems that's really what Andy and the coaching staff want to do with preseason. In spite some of our fans wanting to see a 2-1 season, they're more about evaluating players. So, but that's a great idea. Maybe we can do that, or you know what, we can maybe put them up on split screen and kind of shift between the two games.
We could, yeah. And I looked on Google. I Googled it yesterday. Mahomes and the starters should play the first quarter of the game against the Cardinals. So have at least one quarter of quality football.
Yep. That sounds good. Yeah.
and then the last 3 quarters are going to be pretty bad football, but I'm still going to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting football. But yeah, it's that's why they call it preseason practice games, exhibition games back in the day.
Gardner Minshew is not Mahomes. Gardner Minshew is not going to be lights out the way Mahomes is.
Yeah, well, not many people are Patrick Mahomes. He's kind of a generational quarterback, but I like Gardner Minshew as our backup. I think he gives us some flexibility.
Although I Googled it one day, people are calling Cam Ward of the Titans the next Mahomes, and
you're kidding me.
I Googled it a while ago, but it's like
not sure about that. Yeah,
I mean,
I think Patrick's got a pretty strong hold on probably not, if not the best, one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the NFL for a while.
Although at one point people, I'm sure, called Mahomes the next Brady, and people in Foxborough were like, never, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. I think they did more than just go, I don't think so. They were probably a little more animated, given they're from Boston.
Yeah, good old Boston.
We love Boston.
That was sarcasm.
Oh, okay. I couldn't tell. Hey, let's talk a little bit. We had a great conversation the other day about what would some of the surprises we're picking for this season, just kind of thinking ahead of teams that we think may do a whole lot better, and then some teams who might regress or not do as well as they did before. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Sure. I mean, one team that I have in mind that could potentially do better is the Titans. I mean, the Titans have nowhere to go but up.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of hope the Patriots don't all of a sudden have a good season, because I don't want the Patriots to be good again, because I kind of enjoy them being horrible, because no one liked them for 20 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. How about you?
Particularly because they beat the Chiefs in a couple critical games, but it's a process.
The Chiefs kind of got cheated in the AFC Championship. Do you remember Chris Jones is roughing the passer? Where all he did was hit Tom Brady's arm like that or something, and they called roughing the passer on him, and that made it so he lost the game.
Yeah, that was a tough game. I've gotten over it though. Have you?
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah, so I think you're probably right. The Titans can't do anything but get better, but I think New England might get a little bit better. I think some teams that might come out and shock a little bit. We'll see what Green Bay can do. I think all eyes are going to be on the Bears and all their draft picks and new quarterback, new coaching staff, see if they can rally. In the NFC North, also thinking about the quarterback situation in Minneapolis, see how that plays out. That could be a tricky thing for Kevin O'Connell to manage and get the Vikings back to where they were last year. So I'm kind of interested there. The big question for me in the AFC West isn't how well the Chiefs will do. I think they'll do extremely well. But who's that team that kind of gives them a run for their money? Is it Denver? coming up with the second year of Bo Nix. You've got 4 coaches in the NFC West that are probably all Hall of Fame caliber. So I think the NFC West could be an interesting division to watch, because I think the Chargers and the Broncos and maybe even the Raiders have a chance to really be a whole lot better than they've been in the past. I don't think there's anything that makes me think the Jets or the Giants are ever going to do any better than they have been doing. But
the Giants have had like one. The last winning season was 2022, and before that it was like 2016 or something. So
Yeah.
it's been so the Giants are kind of a dumpster fire, which gets me back to my point of why are the Chiefs playing the Giants on Sunday Night Football? We all know who's going to win that game.
And what's my answer? New York television audience, big draw, and the Chiefs, big national draw.
Yeah, but the Giants aren't going to win that game. We all know that.
Let's not go there. Let's not curse ourselves.
I mean, it's true.
On any given Sunday, any team could come out, and all we're doing is giving fuel and locker room billboard things for the Giants players to put up. But they first have to watch Spoc to get that. But let's not give up any games. We got to play hard, all of them. So it's exciting. Football's just around the corner. The first games will be here before you know it. But this is one of the funner, the best time of the year is opening day in baseball, for me at least. But so we got a lot going on in the sports world here in Kansas City, and a lot of expectations. I'm excited. How about you?
Yep. My mom mentioned going to the Chiefs preseason game this year, but it won't work out because she's going to be just getting back in town the night the Chiefs play here at Arrowhead on the preseason game. That's 22nd.
Yeah.
So maybe next year we'll go.
Maybe next year we'll try and do it. But we can watch the game from the comfort of our sofa in our house on our big screen TV.
And we can yell and scream and yell
and do it.
Touchdown, Kansas City, and get wild. And then if the Chiefs lose by 20 or whatever they lost to the Bears last year, we can get mad.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so it'll be fun. Yeah, we'll be fully immersed in sports as we get into the season. So Emmett, let's move along. We always like to talk sports, but the other things we kind of touch on are politics and cats. So, on the politics current events thing, we just came out of a 10-day span where it's just blazing hot here in Kansas City.
And then all of a sudden last weekend it was highs in the 70s.
Yeah.
I was at camp last weekend, and there were times people were wearing light jackets.
Right.
And it's August. It's like, what? Like, wow, climate change is wild.
Yeah, well, it has been an interesting year. We've talked about the extreme heat and the high humidity, and then a couple of weeks ago, all our phones were blowing up at 3 a.m. with flood warnings because it rained all night.
Yeah.
And then they had what do they call it? The derecho up in the Dakotas the other day with high winds.
Yeah.
And then the tragic events down in Texas with the flash flooding. And not any one of those events you can say are climate change driven, but what it is a pattern of intense rains and patterns of intense periods of heat and humidity, rains that come and just don't let up, and hurricanes that come further inland with torrential rains like what was seen last year in North Carolina and other places. So, it's pretty obvious the climate's changing around you. And to go on my little soapbox a little bit, then this past week, the leadership at EPA has decided they're going to undo all the basic foundational things that allowed the agency to regulate carbon, because 5 scientists out of thousands who study climate change said, well, we're underestimating the benefits of more carbon in the environment. So here we go. One more time, going back to not believing that the climate around us is changing and the health impacts it's having on people, and the natural disasters that are driven, fires and floods and everything else. So hopefully some people with calmer heads and follow science will come in and help us move towards a more sustainable, climate-friendly approach moving forward, because it's going to take decades for this to change, and hopefully we can do it for my children and their children.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
something else about climate change. I think I was taking an online course in high school, and it said that because of climate change, we could see more frequent and stronger hurricanes every year, and which is bad news for people that live in the Gulf and in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like in last year's example, last year there were like two major hurricanes that hit Florida. Helene hit the northern part of the state, and then Milton came in and totally ravaged Tampa. And side note, also tore the roof off the Rays Stadium and had to move. But that's a different story for different podcasts.
Yeah, but still, it's an example of more intense storms coming through and more frequency of them. So yeah, let's hope and keep our fingers crossed that common sense and science and people concern for people's health and welfare will rule the day, and we'll start doing something to take care of carbon as a pollutant in the environment. So we mentioned the big news around here in the past week or two is we've had some family members move back into Kansas City, and this is a pet related. It's not a cat story, but the cat's intertwined.
Yeah.
But so your big brother, older brother Danny, and his wife Kristen and the grandbaby MJ moved back into town, and they brought along their wonderful fur-legged friend named
Kaufman,
after Kauffman Stadium.
And we had to get Kaufman and Logan to meet, and
Kaufman, Logan, and Twiggy.
Yeah, and Twiggy, and it worked about as good as we thought it was going to. It took a while for Logan and Kaufman to stop barking at each other. One point, Kaufman even tried to play with Logan some, and of course we didn't want them to play with each other, but
they were getting a little too rambunctious. But yeah, that we met outside and took Kaufman and Logan for a little walk around the neighborhood, and they got a chance. They kind of growled at each other once or twice, but after that, they were pretty fast friends. It was kind of neat seeing them both laying in the hall, or in the family area, sound asleep and enjoying it. It was good having them around, but it took a little bit, and occasionally they would get a little overly playful. We'd have to kind of make them go to their separate pads.
Which is the 5-second version of what actually happened.
Yeah, but
we can't actually say what happened because we don't want to deter people.
We're a family podcast.
We'll
anyway,
just say that.
Yeah, but no, all was good. These were good pets. It came out extremely better than we thought it would.
Yeah.
And the cat even got in the mix. So we got to talk occasionally about cats. And Twiggy, she got right in the mix of things, and they all kind of bonded together in short order, a couple hours, and they were like fast friends.
And Kaufman, I'm not sure Kaufman's ever been around a cat before. I don't know if he has.
I don't think so.
Because he spent some time when he first met Twiggy getting in Twiggy's face. And of course Twiggy is a cat, and cats don't like people in their face or anything in their face. So she didn't like that. But after a while, Kaufman mellowed down, and Kaufman has a couple friends now. So how old is Kaufman?
Oh, gosh.
Or do we not know that?
I bet Kaufman's every bit of 10 or 12, 10 years old, maybe, something like that.
So Kaufman's about the same age as Logan.
Yeah,
Logan's 9.
Maybe a little bit older. Yeah.
And Twiggy's 8. So isn't Twiggy 8?
I think so. Boy, this is
who knows?
Yeah, we need your mom on this show. We can talk sports, but pet birthdays we're not really good on.
No joke.
Yeah, being real.
No fooling.
Yeah, exactly. That was our best Dana Carvey impression of him impersonating Joe Biden.
Yeah, so last season, Dana Carvey impersonated Joe Biden on SNL, and so we like to go like, I'm being real here. No joke. I'm being serious here. We like to mimic Dana Carvey, and
we thought that was a good sketch, and it really stuck with us.
Go ahead.
No.
We also... Do you like the guy that impersonated Trump, James Austin Johnson?
Yeah, he does a pretty good job. They do a great job.
Focus.
Yeah. Okay, back to our pets. So we had a great experience. Our pet story for this week and this episode is just the wonderful blending of our pet family, and we get to see the grandbaby and the niece a little more frequently. That's been fun too.
And I got to hold my niece for a few minutes, and she didn't And she didn't act like she hated it, so I think she was okay with it.
She was extremely okay with it. She liked all the attention. So it really worked. We're excited to have him in town. And it expands our opportunity for guests on our podcast.
And this a little, just to brag on his granddaughter, my niece. She actually took her first step on Sunday. My brother Danny would hold her arms, and she'd take a step, and then she'd fall down, but still counts as a step.
Yeah, it was pretty darn close. She's getting close. Maybe by the next episode, we can talk about her running all around the house. They can hear the pitter-patter of little feet as we record our next session.
The next thing you know, I'll have to put child gates around the house or something, or like gates so she can't try and go down the stairs or go in certain rooms.
We'll have to be safe. Yeah, maybe we could change it to sports, politics, and occasionally children. No, I'm kidding. It's got to be cats. So, Emmett, that about wraps up our story for episode 4. It's been an exciting week. We're looking forward to the Royals making a push for the wild card spot. We're getting ready for some football. We're going to keep an eye on the weather moving forward as we record this. A storm front's blown through, but it's only a light rain, so
with
no big
a little bit of gusty winds. I just saw that earlier.
Okay, so we're doing okay there. We're safe, and we're excited that our pet family has expanded and they all got along well. So we hope that people enjoyed our podcast.
Please. Go ahead.
No, you got it.
Please like, share, and subscribe to our podcast as it helps fuel our mission to be as popular as the Kelsey brothers.
We're working on that. We've expanded our subscribers. So again, go to YouTube at Sports, Politics, and Occasionally Cats, and you'll find our podcast there. And be sure to like us, give us some feedback, and subscribe so that you can keep up on sports, politics, and occasionally cats.
Thank you and have a great week.
Hey, this is Mark, and thanks for joining us today on Sports, Politics, and Occasionally Cats. Spoc. What a great show we had today, Emmett. Those were wonderful stories. I can't wait to follow up and listen again on all the usual sites where you get podcasts. Go to Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you find your podcast. And it's Spoc. Sports, Politics, and Occasionally Cats. Wow, that's a great, funny story we had about that cat today, Emmett. Thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to hearing you on our next show.